couch and toward the neuroscientist's lab.
Major depression, or clinical depression, is a disease, and it's a disease of the brain. We know this because of studies that have shown changes in brain structure, and studies that have shown changes in brain chemistry, and studies that have shown changes in brain function.
Dr. Coffey recently completed the most comprehensive study to date of brain structure in patients with depression. He found that depressed patients had smaller frontal lobes, larger lateral ventricles, and greater disease in the subcortical white matter. Simply stated, the brains of depressed patients looked older than non-depressed control subjects. There are various theories as to why.
One could argue that the depression is leading to the brain change. The idea here would be that with repeated episodes of depression, the brain actually undergoes a wear and tear. That is to say, depression is bad for the brain, and it causes changes in brain tissue and brain structure that might eventually become permanent. That's one theory. The other theory would be that the changes themselves are leading to the depressive illness.
Either way, these brain changes could impact how we diagnose and treat depression, especially now that experts say one episode of depression most likely means more.
The most recent data suggests that 85 to 90% of people who ever have an episode of depression will go on to have more episodes. So recurring depression is the norm.
Letting the depression go on untreated may in fact result in a permanent change in the brain. It may make the brain more likely to have future episodes of depression, and those episodes may be more resistant to treatment and more serious in their symptomatology. So for all of these reasons, it's very, very important to get treatment early and as quickly as possible.
Tim, you mentioned so many people depressed, so few people treated, but one of the reasons is this one is not easy to classify, not easy to diagnose.
Well, there are a long list of possible symptoms, and obviously they will vary from one person to another. But what we're looking for in general is a marked change in the person's mood and ability to function as compared to their usual. We look for clear changes in mood, that is, inability to concentrate, guilt feelings, those kinds of obvious general mood changes. But it's also very helpful to look at specific changes in ability to function at school, if the person's at that age, or at work, or in the home. Abilities and changes in functions for things like the common functions of life, eating and sleeping and sex. If we sit down and take an inventory of that person and how they've changed in these everyday ways over a period of time, we may be surprised ourselves to realize what a different person we're dealing with.
We all have episodes when we feel lousy, when we're in the dumps. How do you know that this has crossed the line and that there really is a depressive problem here?
Obviously, it's not a matter of black and white in many cases, but there are certainly some clues. Number one, of course, if ever there is an expression of suicide or suicidal thoughts, that means immediate treatment. That's a medical emergency as far as I'm concerned. Secondly, if the symptoms or the changes, whatever they are, persist for more than 2 weeks, just to be arbitrary, I think it's time to seek attention, even if they don't seem to be that serious, but they're persistent. And finally, of course, when the person reaches a point where they're really not functioning in one of these many areas, then it's time to seek attention.
And Tim, so much of the treatment has now turned to medicinal treatment, to prescriptions.
Well, there are three big areas of treatment always. Medicines are the most common and prominent in this country. Certainly psychotherapy or talking therapy in modified form is very useful. And increasingly, doctors are willing to use electroconvulsive therapy, what we used to call shock therapy, simply because it is so immediately and quickly effective in treating very serious depression. We're going to be talking about those treatments this week and which ones are best for which people.
Is the stigma gone to depression?
It's getting better, I think, as we begin to understand it as a biological problem, not a moral problem.
Yeah. All right, Tim Johnson, it's going to be interesting going through this week talking about this. I should mention Tim's going to be back later this hour to tell you how to reduce the amount of salt in your child's diet. We're going to get double use out of Tim today. Our series, Conquering Depression, will continue, however, tomorrow with a look at antidepressant medications, the thing we were just talking about. Next, Tales of an Irish Upbringing. Author Fifth Vargas. Deborah.
Thank you, Charlie. Hello again, everyone. Our top story this morning, the withdrawal of President Clinton's choice to head the CIA. Former National Security Advisor Anthony Lake said the confirmation process had become, quote, a political football game with constantly moving goalposts. House Speaker Newt Gingrich may be ready to put off tax cuts. In a shift in position, the House Speaker said he the Korean consulate 5 weeks ago. United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan has announced a 10-point plan to reform the world body. He'll propose, as part of that plan, cutting the budget more than $100 million. He also wants to eliminate 1,000 vacant positions. And that's a check of the news at 7:32. Spencer Christian, just a couple of days before spring. Do we have spring-like weather on the horizon?
Well, in the southwestern states we do. In fact, almost summer-like in the southwest, where high temperatures are going to soar up to, the 90s, for example, down here in parts of Arizona, Southern California, Southern Nevada, 80s and 90s. And this area of warm weather will start to expand over the next couple of days and cover most of the western half of the nation. Meanwhile, nice and spring-like a couple of days early in the southeast, but still cool in the upper Midwest and northeast, where highs today will reach only to about the 30s. Some snow, light snow, will fall from about central Illinois across much of northern Indiana, Ohio, into central Virginia, central New Jersey. I'm thinking I had Virginia on my mind. Down into Delaware and Maryland. Look for 2 to 5 inches of snow accumulation generally, then heavy rainfall from that area southward down to the Gulf Coast, and some really stormy weather up in the northwest, some snow in the higher elevations, heavy rain near the coast, and strong gusty winds. That's a look at the national weather. Here's a look at what's happening where you are.
Good morning, everyone. We've got cloudy skies. A few raindrops already occurring across the city this morning. Let's take a look at the outlook. Rain and thunderstorms today, but clearing tomorrow and a gradual warming trend for the rest of the week. Not too bad, so make sure you take your umbrella out as you head out and make it a safe day.
This weather has been brought to you by Whiskas. Cynthia?
No snow, Spencer, please. Next, automobile airbags can protect you, but only if you're positioned properly in the car. Consumer editor Steve Filmer has information that could save your family's lives when Good Morning America continues.
Whiskas. No matter when it starts, a relationship like this should last for life. So nourish it with Whiskas. Whiskas. Only Whiskas has Vitalife, with over 40 vital nutrients and vitamins. The fact is, more cats enjoy their long, happy lives with Whiskas than any other cat food in the world. Whiskas with Vitalife. Make friends for life with Whiskas. Whiskas.
A nasty germ. It could make you pretty sick. And the worst part is, germs live on all kinds of things, even things we touch every day. But now there's Purell Instant Hand Sanitizer. Purell is clinically proven to kill germs on your hands that may cause disease without water or towels. So use it often, anytime, any place. After all, who knows what you're in line for? To help stay well, Purell.
Soon you'll be on your way. Soon another busy day. Before your morning starts anew, take a moment just for you.
Folgers crystals are made with mountain-grown beans for rich ground roast aroma that surrounds you.
As that aroma fills your cup, this moment lifts you up. The best part of waking up.
Folgers crystals.
Welcome to Park Avenue, the ultimate urban environment. So quiet, it shuts out urban unpleasantness. So beautiful, it improves the neighborhood. Even the most elegant street in America, which, incidentally, seems to have been named after our new car. The all-new Park Avenue by Buick, the power of understatement.
Automobile airbags are credited with saving more than 1,700 lives since the mid-1980s. But they've also taken 62 lives, many of them small children. With airbags already in 30 million cars, drivers are demanding they be made safer. Well, this week, the National Transportation Safety Board is holding a public forum in Washington, D.C. to figure out how to do that. Our consumer editor, Steve Filmer, has been covering the forum, and he'll join us in a moment. But first, he takes a look at a few of the issues involved.
The force of this airbag decapitated the one-year-old baby.
The 5-year-old girl riding in this van suffered fatal brain injuries from the force of an exploding airbag.
Tragic stories we never expected to hear. Airbags were intended to save lives. But images like these have brought the world's leading airbag experts together in Washington for 4 days of hearings. The most compelling testimony came from a grieving father.
I don't think I'll ever forget that night of prayer, horror, sadness, suffering. nor the look on Frances's face as she lay.
5-year-old Frances Ambrose was killed by a passenger side airbag in this minivan. A low-speed crash set off the device. Now, Ambrose and the families of 38 other children killed by airbags want car makers to stop installing passenger side airbags. Their harm, they say, outweighs their benefits.
It's like having a revolver with 5 bullets in the chamber, and every 5th time you pull the trigger, you kill a child.
Also, a dramatic reversal by one of the world's top airbag experts. Harvard's John Graham is the man whose initial research convinced car makers to install passenger-side airbags. Now, he's convinced that may have been a bad idea.
Even among children who are properly restrained, we cannot say with confidence that airbags save more of these children than they kill.
Most of the children killed were in positions like this during impact, slipped out from under the shoulder belt. Also at risk, women 5'2" and smaller, like Susan Hayes. The blow from her airbag left her unconscious for almost 5 weeks.
The whole left side of my face was very bruised, and my husband said it looked like somebody dragged me by my feet across the road.
As with the child fatalities, smaller women are most often at risk when they're not wearing a seatbelt and sitting too close to the steering wheel when the airbag inflates. Despite the tragedies, researchers and crash survivors insist airbags are still saving lives.
The 2 things that saved me was, one was God, and the other was the airbag. Without it, they don't know how I survived in the first place. No one can explain it.
And Steve Filmer joins me now from Washington. Steve, pretty snappy car you've got there.
Nice looking car. Good morning, Cynthia.
Good morning. We understand the problem, I think. Now, are there some solutions?
There are. A couple of things that have been kicked around yesterday were laws universal in all states that would let a policeman write you a ticket anytime he caught you with kids that weren't right here in the back seat. The other is better and smarter airbags. One design would put sensors here in the passenger seat that could tell how much the person sitting here weighs and then tell the airbag whether or not to go off. The same sensors could be connected to the seat rails and judge how close or far the person sitting here is from the airbag and decide how much power to put into that airbag. But those kind of improvements aren't going to be in all cars anytime soon, so I want to give you a couple of tips, things we should all be doing right away every time we get into cars. The first is on the passenger side, no matter how short you are, you want this seat all the way back at all times. The other thing is the seat and shoulder belt. This has always got to be worn. Many of the people getting hurt and injured in these airbag accidents are winding up in a position like this where they've let themselves get out from underneath the seat belt. That puts you too close to the airbag when it goes off. Also, nothing should ever go on this dash. If you put keys or eyeglasses here, when this goes off, those items might as well be fired out of a cannon. They're going to hit you in the face hard. The main point, of course, is that children, especially children under 13 years of age, have got to always go in the back seat.
Steve, these airbags deploy at 200 miles an hour in some of them. Does it have to be deployed that hard, that fast?
It really does, at least according to the design the government set up thus far. They're talking about taking some of that power down a bit, but for the driver, the real issue is always leaving enough space for the airbag. And if we put an airbag in here, this is what one looks like when it's inflated. It takes up a lot of room. You need to know, as a driver, you've got to have 12 inches in here between you and the airbag. A simple way to always measure that is an ordinary 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. If you can't put this piece of paper between the center of your chest and the steering wheel with some room to spare, you're too close. Now, if you're a shorter person, particularly women 5'2" and shorter, that may not be practical to move the seat back. For you, you can use the pedal extenders that will extend the reach of your feet to the pedal and solve the problem that way, allowing you to move the seat further back. These are about $200 from a dealership. The problem is, once they're in, they don't snap in and out, so the car may be set up for just one driver.
Steve, there are some things, obviously, that you can do to help yourself and your family be safer, but based upon everything you've seen in Washington this week, would you disconnect the airbags in your car?
Well, it's illegal to do that right now unless you get permission from the government. I would not do that for another very simple reason. If you dig around with a screwdriver or something trying to look for a way to disconnect the bag, chances are you're going to be close to it. You could use the tool to set off the bag and really injure or kill yourself by trying to disconnect it.
So we got to take your tips at the present time and wait and see what else the government decides to do.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks, they're supposed to announce a blanket understanding that's going to let all...
For that report, Steve Filmer next. Coach Joe Torre tells us about his lifelong journey to the World Series when Good Morning America continues.
Won't wear off makeup that cares for my skin. That's the ultimate.
Wonder Wear makeup from Ultima 2. Looks natural through your longest day.
And won't wear off.
Plus, Wonder Wear's sunscreen and antioxidant vitamins defend against a damaging environment, so your skin stays younger looking.
Makeup that won't wear off is terrific, but at the end of the day, what really matters to me is makeup that cares for my skin.
Wonder Wear makeup from Ultima 2.
The ultimate.
Now, your gift with any $15 Ultima 2 purchase at JCPenney.
Senokot laxative tablets work like second nature overnight.
From the makers of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Are we shrunk?
Comes a brand new comedy critics call the best of the Honey movies. The special effects are dazzling. It's a sure bet for non-stop family fun. Own Disney's Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
These are your final days to save at the tremendous going out of business sale at Oak Factory Outlet. Everything is being sold at a sacrifice. But hurry, time is running out on Oak Factory Outlet's going out of business sale. These are your final days to save.
Prince Riviera Spa delivers fitness for a very healthy price. 2 for 1 or 50% off.
The location is convenient. Everybody here is really friendly.
40 years of experience, the best equipped health club anywhere, 2 for 1 or 50% off at Prince Riviera Spa.
You know, we get 120,000 phone calls a month.
More and more, homeowners want one loan that does it all.
A lot of them are homeowners with less than perfect credit trying to refinance their homes.
They want to refinance their first mortgage and pay off their high-rate credit cards and auto loans. That's why the Money Store introduced the combo loan. With just one loan, you can refinance your mortgage, pay off your high-rate bills, and usually get some extra cash. The combo loan at the Money Store. Call 1-800-LOAN-YES.
You've probably noticed that the Baltimore Orioles have the best record in spring training in the American League. It's things like that that get baseball fans revved up for the new season. But for New York Yankees manager Joe Torre, it's the season just past that remains unforgettable. During last year's World Series, the Yanks made one of the greatest comebacks in baseball history. They were down 2-0. They battled back, swept the next 4 games, and became world champs. But Torre also had quite a year off the field. He wrote about all that in his book, and recently he sat down with our Bill Ritter for a very personal talk about his life and his career.
Hayes waits. The Yankees are champions of baseball.
It was so great. I was on a high. I never realized what impact it was going to have on New York. I really didn't. I knew, you know, New York was a special place, but it became a small city, small town. When we started the parade, you go up Broadway and you look on either side, and just a sea of humanity. And you never think about this during the World Series.
No one in baseball history waited longer to get to the World Series than Joe Torre. First as a player, a 9-time All-Star and former MVP, but he played with 3 teams that never went all the way. Then as a manager, where he lost far more games than he won. In all, the wait was 37 years, 4,272 games. During that time, Torre had 3 wives, 3 kids. He lost a brother and both his parents, including a father who Torre says verbally abused him as a child. It's all detailed in Torre's new and candid autobiography, Chasing the Dream, My Lifelong Journey to the World Series. We talked with Torre in Tampa, Florida, where he's preparing his world champion Yankees for the '97 season.
You're tough on yourself, and you don't have to write this book. You're the world champion manager.
I know, Bill, but if I was going to write a book, the good time in that book isn't going to be appreciated unless you realize the bad time that you had getting there.
And you write about your father, an abusive father. Was that hard to write about?
I just think probably therapeutically it's probably better to talk about it now, to let other people know that it's okay to have bad things happen in your life, that you can go on from here and you can live a normal life, or as normal as you can. I think it's important people know that.
the personal things that happened to you this last season, people know, and yet you write about it with such poignancy again in the book. The birth of a daughter.
Yeah.
Driver's license.
Consider the Visa check card. It automatically deducts from your checking account everywhere Visa's accepted. No ID needed. It works like a check.
You did it well. You gave your all, and it was swell. And now it's fun time, fucking fun time. I'm making whoopee.
The brand new DeVille for the time of your life.
If God can create the horizon, think how much God can broaden yours.
For the location of the Episcopal Church near you, call 901-526-0023.
Bread. You can't live by that alone. Mayo, lettuce, tomato. Does anyone really say tomato? Chicken. We're not afraid to grill it. Cheese. Compliments of the Swiss. Bacon. Makes you want to bring it home. That bread's not alone anymore. A club for chicken fans. The Grilled Chicken Club. For a limited time from Backyard Burgers.
Just a minute here before we wrap up the half hour. A couple of things, stories that we didn't have a chance to really explore in depth, but that caught our eye yesterday. Number one, Ford dropping the Thunderbird.
Yeah.
A piece of our youth, Spencer.
Yes, I know.
Oh, wow.
Not your youth, not yours.
I remember the Thunderbird very well. We saw pictures of it, didn't we, Dad?
Yeah.
And I knew people who drove them. That's right.
It started out, it was one of the great sports cars. And then they made it a big sedan and stuff, and the sales have lagged.
Well, they said they got to bring it back in the year 2000, though, as a sports coupe.
Well, that's what they look like now. They got too big. They look like every other car.
It's like the new Coke.
They used to be very distinctive.
They had character.
I
They used
do
to have
remember
character,
people
yeah.
Yeah, they were
really excited
wonderful.
about Thunderbirds.
Sure.
Going to bring it back in 2000, as Spencer mentioned, as a sports coupe.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, in the closing of a plant out in Lorain, Ohio, you always hate to see those things happen. Then the other thing, we've done a lot of stories on this program about how the American automobile industry has made such inroads. Mm-hmm. But Consumer Report, which doesn't pay much mind to what nationality cars are from, has rated the best cars in 9 different categories. Japanese cars or German cars, foreign cars, finished first in 7 out of the 9 categories.
Right. Wow.
That's right, foreign cars in 7. Japanese cars finished first in 5 of them.
But you know what's funny, though, is they're all starting to look so much alike. I mean, even foreign cars that used to look so distinctive, like the Saab, they're all starting to be rounded and look so much alike, I think.
Yep. Kind of makes you want to say, they all look alike to me.
Consumer Report, best car regardless of price is Consumer Report, the Mercedes-Benz E320. Best family sedan, Toyota Camry. Best pickup was a Ford, and best minivan, Dodge and Plymouth. Those are the 2 categories of American cars.
I care about color. I care about the color of the car.
Red back.
People expect more from my teeth because my husband's a dentist. We use Mentadent.
Mentadent's unique formula actually targets plaque. It works like no ordinary toothpaste.
I know my mouth is clean because I can feel it.
Mentadent, more than you ever expected from a toothpaste.
It was a huge idea. He'd be on time, and the pants would get dry. Sometimes he thought, I'm so smart, it's scary. Sir, it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
We take different steps.
We have our own rules.
Hey, we break our own rules.
Different things are important to us.
Our smiles are different.
We have different tastes.
We sing our own songs. We keep different secrets. Different routines.
Some of us like things sweet.
Each of us has a different talent. Our ideas of fun are different. We all have different memories. Maybe different. But we're all equal.
We're all equal.
Maybe different. Maybe different. But we're all equal.
We may be different, but we're all equal.
The end is near. These are your final days to save at the tremendous going out of business sale at Oak Factory Outlet. Hurry to Oak Factory Outlet for amazing last-minute deals on anything and everything for your home. Yes, Oak Factory Outlet must and will sell all famous brand name furniture and bedding at a sacrifice, down to the bare walls. You just cannot afford to wait. The clock is ticking away and time is quickly running out on this fabulous going out of business sale. These are your final days to save at Oak Factory Outlet, Aaron Drive, Memphis, right off Poplar between Mendenhall and Perkins. Going out of business forever. Final days.
At Plymouth, we don't mean to brag, but Plymouth Voyager's received a lot of awards lately. And during the Plymouth Awards sale, you can get Plymouth Voyager plus air in 7 days for this low price. And the always popular Plymouth Neon Espresso comes with this great price. Come see what all the noise is about during the Plymouth Awards sale. Only at your Plymouth dealer.
Good Morning America is brought to you by Equal.
Ahead on Good Morning America, in our series Conquering Depression, we'll take a look at the antidepressant drugs that are out now. Will they work? Could they work for you?
Plus, science editor Michael Gillen tackles your science questions as we present another edition of Good Morning America's Q&A.
Right. Accommodations provided by Hotel Westbury, famous for Old World charm and New World amenities. Located on the Upper East Side, New York's heart of culture, cuisine, and couture.
You know, sometimes the simplest things work best. If you want to keep your kids away from drugs, make sure you talk to them about the risks.
Tonight, it's terrifying. Natural disasters striking without warning. Until now, an incredible life-saving breakthrough only on ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
ABC Tuesday.
You just gave life to a person you know could be innocent.
Everything you need in a lawyer.
Are you threatening me? If I have to.
Everything you want in a man.
It took me 20 minutes just to work up the courage to kiss you.
This is Bobby Donnell.
You're where you are. Can you help me? It's time for me to help you.
The Practice. ABC Tuesday.
Good morning from your new Mid-South News leader.
Well, good morning, everyone. A quick look at traffic before we get to Mel and the weather. Now, new accidents coming in. That accident out at 40 and 240 out at near Sycamore View is clear. But the wreck's coming in now. Winchester at Mendenhall. This one causing a little bit of a problem out near the county, actually in the county, and officers are on the scene there. An accident coming in a few moments ago at Shelby Drive in Mill Branch. That one is causing big problems, a major intersection there. And Barron at Sims, a little accident being worked. Now we're going to take a look at the weather, and it's a beautiful start to the rush hour, and I hope a beautiful day today, huh, Mel?
Well, I've got news for you, Richard. It may be a beautiful start, but it won't end that way. We've got some not only clouds, but rain moving across the Mid-South right now. Take a look at the composite radar satellite. You'll see how the rain has moved into the greater Memphis area and most of western Tennessee overnight. A little bit closer, we'll notice the rain right now just at the river, some of the heavier activity to the northwest of the city. That means that for today we're going to have more clouds, more rain, and scattered thunderstorms, a high temperature of 66 degrees, and our winds will be from the southwest at 10 to 15 miles an hour. On that 5-day forecast, we've got rain in here all day today. It'll be ending late tonight, and we'll be drying out tomorrow with a cool day tomorrow, but you'll notice temperatures warming up to near 70 degrees toward the weekend.
Well, here are some of the stories Newswatch 24 will be bringing to you tonight. Corps engineers take a tour down the Mississippi surveying flood damage. We'll take you along for the ride. Also, Ken Houston opens up his health file for us today with a medical breakthrough you won't want to miss. And losing weight may be a little easier in Tennessee. Tonight, we'll tell you why. Those stories and much more tonight on Newswatch 24 at 5, 6, and 10. Stay tuned as Good Morning America continues right after this commercial break.
This is an early frost warning from Snappy Windshield Repair.
Are you driving with a stone-damaged windshield? If so, call Snappy today and have it repaired by the experts. If the frost has already caused it to spread, call for immediate replacement in shop or mobile, and Snappy will waive $50 of your insurance deductible and handle your insurance claim for you. Call Snappy today for all your automotive glass needs at 393-0906. Snappy gets your windshield fixed.
For beauty and fun, Arkansas is a natural. Get your free Arkansas vacation planning kit by calling 1-800-NATURAL now.
These are your final days to save at the tremendous going out of business sale at Oak Factory Outlet. Everything is being sold at a sacrifice. But hurry, time is running out on Oak Factory Outlet's going out of business sale. These are your final days to save.
Finally, something different in daytime. The Rosie O'Donnell Show.
Good morning, America. 8 o'clock. Up and at 'em. I'm Charles Gibson.
And one, Charlie. We're going to deal with a serious subject this morning. It's not just the blues. Depression, clinical depression is a serious subject, and there are serious drugs now available to help treat it, and we're going to have one of the country's experts here to talk to us about it, Dr. Gerald Rosenblum.
Also ahead, Good Morning America's question and answer session. We thought it might be a good idea to take some of the questions that you have sent in and put them to our family members. Yesterday we were talking computers with our computer editor, Gina Smith. Today it is science questions, and Michael Gillen, our science editor, will be here. And it involves, the question that he's going to address today involves animals. Oh. We'll leave it at that.
Oh, that was a good one, Charlie. But first, we're going to take a look at today's weather with Spencer Christian. Spencer, what is this snow business you're talking about?
Well, you know, there's snow business like snow business. But despite all the talk here in the Northeast about the snow that may or may not fall, the bigger weather story is the violent storms that may pound the coastal Northwest, and I'll show you what's happening there in just a moment.
Want to sing it?
There's snow business like my business.
And ahead, you're going to meet TV's Judge Judy. Also talk about the facts of sex after 60. Good news there. First, Deborah Roberts of ABC's 2020.
I'll follow that one. Thank you, Charlie.
You want me to wait before I get to the news? Hold on.
Well,
I'll give you a break. I'll give you a little time here. Pause, 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 pause. Now the news. From Deborah Roberts from ABC's 2020, who's in for
Much more appropriate. Thank you, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. President Clinton is looking for a new nominee to be CIA director. Former National Security Advisor Anthony Lake withdrew his name from consideration last night, charging that his confirmation hearings had become a, quote, political circus. More now from ABC's Bob Zelnick.
Truth and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
The final straw for Lake began with allegations that the CIA, under Democratic Party pressure, had intervened to secure continuing White House access for a big political donor after Lake's own staff recommended he be barred. Lebanese-American businessman Roger Tamraz, now visiting Paris, unsuccessfully sought NSC support for an international oil pipeline venture. But after DNC and CIA intervention, Tamraz, who contributed around $180,000 to the Democrats, visited the White House 4 times, including an evening watching movies with Mr. Clinton.
I liked seeing the president. I'm a great believer in this president, and I'd like him to succeed.
Intelligence Committee Chairman Shelby called the incident another example of Lake's managerial shortcomings.
It raises questions about management. Was Mr. Lake in the loop, or was he out of the loop?
In his withdrawal letter, Lake said the incident is likely to lead to further delay to the detriment of the CIA.
Thank you, members of the committee.
Lake was also deeply troubled by Shelby's insistence on questioning NSC staffers under oath, and on the chairman's effort to provide committee members with broad access to Lake's FBI files. Despite Lake's complaints about Washington gone haywire, the question at the core of his nomination seemed legitimate. If a small national security staff could keep him in the dark about everything from Roger Tamraz to FBI warnings about China, what could an agency filled with spies keep him from learning? Bob Zelnick, ABC News, Washington.
FBI Director Louis Freeh insists he did not deliberately mislead Congress about why his bureau suspended a whistleblower in its crime lab. Earlier this month, Freeh testified that Frederick Whitehurst was disciplined only because of a recommendation by the Justice Department Inspector General. Now Freeh admits the suspension was also due to Whitehurst's refusal to cooperate with an internal investigation of leaks. Israel began work this morning on a project that many fear could trigger confrontation and endanger the peace process. The construction of new homes for Jews in historically Arab East Jerusalem has angered Palestinians. Here's ABC's Hillary Brown.
Hundreds of Israeli soldiers have taken up positions around the disputed hilltop, and this morning they declared it a closed military area. The Palestinians have set up a small tent camp half a mile away under refusing Israeli orders to move. This is a peaceful protest, they say, against a project designed to cut the West Bank off from East Jerusalem, which Palestinians want for their capital.
We will go on in the end. It will be our capital. Maybe it is a fight between the right and the might. The right, in the end, will win.
But feelings are running high in the West Bank, and other Palestinian leaders have warned that if Israel goes ahead with its building plan, there could be another Arab uprising. Efforts to arrange a summit between Yasser Arafat and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have failed so far. Netanyahu said between them is at stake. Hillary Brown, ABC News, Har Homa.
The newly released death certificate for a newborn allegedly killed by his teenage parents lists multiple skull fractures as the cause of death. The certificate also says the baby of Amy Grossberg and Brian Peterson suffered from a condition known as brain clefts, though it says that condition did not contribute to its death. Defense attorneys say the revelation of a congenital brain defect contradicts prosecution claims that the baby was born healthy.
That has tremendous significance in terms of impeachment material. How in the world could this be a normal baby in November when they made their statement, and now in March, it was brain damaged?
The young parents have been charged with first-degree murder. In other news, the U.S. Supreme Court is hearing arguments in a case that's even gained the attention of the Vatican. It involves an inmate on Virginia's death row and whether the jury was given all the information it needed. Here's ABC's Tim O'Brien.
With his own website on the internet, Joseph Odell's appeal has been high-tech and high-profile. Even the Pope got on board, urging Virginia not to execute him. So did the real Sister Helen Prejean, known to millions through the movie Dead Man Walking. Support grew after DNA tests showed that blood found on Odell's shirt did not match the victims, as prosecutors said.
It's beyond my comprehension how anyone could sentence someone to die on the flimsy evidence that they had, and there was no connection between me and the victim whatsoever.
But blood stains found on Odell's jacket did match that of the victim, leading 14 lower court judges to agree unanimously there was plenty of evidence to convict him.
In various points, they used the word mountain, they used the word overwhelming, and they used the word vast.
If there's a glitch in the state's case, it's that prosecutors focused on Odell's danger to the community without ever telling the jury he would be forever ineligible for parole if sentenced to life. The Supreme Court just recently ruled that juries must be told when death penalty defendants are ineligible for parole. But it was unclear whether that ruling should apply retroactively to older cases like Odell's, which is why the Supreme Court agreed to hear his case. If the justices later find his rights were violated, he would be entitled to a new sentencing hearing. And after more than a decade on death row, Odell's fate once again placed on hold. Tim O'Brien, ABC News, Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Finally, this just in. Professional wrestling is not a sport, in case you're confused about that. That's according to law, at least one in the state of New Jersey. Governor Christine Todd Whitman, flanked by wrestler Undertaker, that's him on the right, signed the new law yesterday. The governor's action repeals the state tax on pro wrestling by calling it entertainment rather than sport. Spencer, I don't think there's much danger of thinking that it's a sport if the guy's name is Undertaker.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think so either. No.
Go figure.
Okay. Well, how about wrestling with the weather forecast right now?
If it's a good one.
Well, it will be for some parts of the country. Right now, much of the concern in the east is about this little path of snow that's going to reach from central Illinois eastward over to New Jersey, Maryland, and Delaware. About 2 to 5 inches of accumulation expected there, and with the start of spring just 2 days away, that is a story. However, of more concern may be the heavy rainfall that's going to occur in the Ohio Valley today and points southward down to the Gulf Coast. There'll be some thunderstorms there. Spring-like weather in the Rockies and the Southwest. The Northwest, however, will see very stormy weather with strong gusty winds along the coast, possibly gusting up to hurricane level, accompanied by heavy rainfall, of course, and then snow inland over the higher elevations. That's a look at the national weather. Here's a look at what's happening where you are.
Good morning, everyone. It's 60 degrees and cloudy right now in Memphis as you head out the door. You may want to take the umbrella with you as you leave out. We'll look at the radar, and you'll notice how the rain has moved into the local area over the past 12 hours or so. The heaviest activity now across northern Shelby County into Tipton and Lauderdale counties. That's going to be increasing today. We'll have cloudy skies, more rain on the way, and scattered thunderstorms, a high temperature of 66 degrees, wind southwest at 10 to 15 miles an hour. We'll have more on the 5-day outlook when we come back, but now back to Good Morning America.
Did you know you've got a much better chance of being successfully treated for depression than for heart disease? Yet less than 10% of the people who need treatment for depression get it. This morning we continue our week-long series, Conquering Depression, with a look at the new drugs revolutionizing our understanding of this disease. Joining me now is Dr. Gerald Rosenbaum, Director of the Outpatient Psychiatry Program at Massachusetts General Hospital. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Cynthia.
Let me start with this question. Can drugs be used to treat any kind of depression, or are drugs not always the appropriate response?
Well, in general, drugs are effective for a wide range of depressive illnesses, from mild to severe. As the condition gets more severe, including psychotherapies that may be effective as well.
We think about depression, lots of people get that confused with just the blues. I mean, we all feel down, sometimes we all feel unhappy, but that isn't what you mean when you talk about clinical depression.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's a mistake to label this illness depression, because it does get confused with ordinary sadness or distress that people experience in daily life. But depression really is a syndrome that includes a lot of changes in how, not only how one thinks and feels, but in a variety of physical symptoms as well, in appetite, ability to experience pleasure, ability to sleep, energy level. A variety of physiological functions are altered as well. It's really a syndrome that we believe has an important biological underpinning.
There were 3 different kinds of groups. We hear about Prozac so much these days as a treatment or medication for depression that I think maybe we forget that there are a variety. Let's take a look. We have a list of the different kind of medications, the types. Explain these to us, would you?
Well, there are 3 classes of antidepressants listed in the graphic. 2 are older antidepressants, the tricyclics and monoamine oxidase inhibitors. Those were the mainstays of treatment many years ago. The newer agents, the prototype of which was Prozac, first released about 10 years ago, are the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. They're all equally effective for depression. They're not different in terms of overall efficacy. But the newer generation drugs, the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, clearly have advantages in terms of safety and tolerability.
In other words, there are fewer side effects with the SSRIs.
Fewer side effects, but also safety, meaning danger and overdose or dramatically dangerous drug-drug interactions that can be a problem with some of the older drugs.
Now, Prozac is just one of the SSRIs, right?
Prozac was the first to be released, which actually we still call it one of the newer antidepressants, but we're approaching the 10th anniversary of the release of Prozac in this country.
There are other drugs. Tell us about these.
Well, the other members of this class include Paxil, Zoloft, and Luvox. They all share the same mechanism of action, and again, are generally equally effective for the treatment of mood disorders.
Do these drugs cure depression?
Well, depression is a syndrome that, like other syndromes like diabetes or hypertension, that you can control. You can even eliminate the symptoms. But the underlying cause of depression is probably not addressed by the antidepressants. In other words, one course of treatment doesn't end your risk for depression in the future.
And the drugs don't work just overnight, do they?
That's a really key point, is that the antidepressants are really different than other medications that patients are used to using, and they require sometimes many weeks, 2 to 6 weeks before they begin to work.
Are some patients resistant to take drugs for their depression? I mean, we think of this as being pretty serious business.
Well, you see a spectrum. I mean, for some people, when you tell them they have depression, they're relieved to have a name for their suffering, to know there's a treatment. Other people react to the idea that they're going to be on a medication that will affect how they think and feel, and it becomes a process of working with a patient, helping them understand what depression is. Sometimes you can help them see how it's run through their family as a hereditary thing. Programs like this or publicity about famous people who have suffered depression can be helpful as well.
We hear about Prozac Nation. We hear about overprescription of Prozac. Are people becoming addicted to Prozac, or isn't that even possible?
Well, it's not physiologically addicting, so there's no addiction in that sense. I think it's important to know that the successful treatment of severe or chronic depression is probably one of the more gratifying outcomes in modern medicine. And so
you can really make a difference.
Oh, you can change people's lives. So it's not surprising that for some physicians, they might tend to overzealously prescribe a treatment they've seen be effective. And there have been some widely publicized instances of overprescribing. But the public health issue really is the opposite, and that is that depression remains generally underdiagnosed and undertreated in this country.
The medications that we've talked about this morning really have changed what you as a psychiatrist and others are able to do for patients.
Yeah, it's really made being a physician and a psychiatrist a very gratifying career. We can really take care of a lot of people. It makes treatment accessible to people who really were afraid of or couldn't tolerate the older treatments we had more than 10 years ago.
For someone who is living with a person who they believe to be depressed or someone who believes they may be suffering from this, would you say that most cases should be treated with medication, or can't you generalize that way?
I don't know if I should say most cases, but certainly when the depression's been very long-standing, if it's been chronic, if a patient has had multiple episodes or is severely depressed, antidepressants should be part of the treatment program. For milder depression, and maybe for all depressives at some point, counseling or psychotherapy is an important part of the treatment plan.
And it works best, I understand it, if you have the treatment of the drugs and the therapy.
Question as to how much a person's psychological state and the way they think is influenced by depression, and in turn the way they think may put them at risk for depression. So targeting the way they think, feel, and behave in their interpersonal relations, as well as the biological underpinning of the disorder, really I think is the best and most comprehensive treatment for the syndrome.
The synthesis of prostaglandins that increase inflammation. Some fats support the synthesis of prostaglandins that suppress inflammation. So that's a way, gives you a way of manipulating that system. There also are a number of herbs with anti-inflammatory effect. Two common ones are ginger and turmeric, the yellow spice that's in mustard and curry. They also work on the prostaglandin system. But when you institute those changes, instead of immediately suppressing the inflammatory prostaglandins, what you're doing is affecting gradually the synthesis of these hormones. So it takes time to see the effect. If you're used to getting an effect from an anti-inflammatory drug within hours, you're going to be very disappointed when you go on a regimen of natural medicine for dealing with arthritis or bursitis or some other inflammatory condition. But if you're patient, you know, if you wait somewhere between 6 and 8 weeks, you begin to see the changes happen. So this is just something that I noticed from my own experience, that somewhere about 2 months, this is an adequate trial. So that's why I've designed this way. So I'm going to lay out this program for you. And if you will institute the steps in the 8-week program, by the time you get to the end of it, you will have laid the foundations for a healthy lifestyle, one that will protect and enhance your body's ability to heal itself.
Next, the 8-week program, when we return with Dr. Andrew Wine.
I'll do so. The first is broccoli. And broccoli is symbolic of adding more fresh vegetables to your diet, but of all the vegetables out there, broccoli seems to be the one that has the greatest cancer protective effect. You know, fruits and vegetables in general have many protective factors in them, so you want to increase the number and variety of fruits and vegetables that you eat, fresh fruits and vegetables. But broccoli is a good one. If you don't like it, find ways to cook it. You know, I've had a lot of horrible broccoli in my life that's been overcooked. If it's cooked very briefly to the point of being bright green and very crunchy tender, you can make delicious preparations of broccoli. And I've had a lot of people who said they never liked broccoli suddenly discover that it's a good thing to eat. One of the compounds in broccoli that's been identified as a major cancer fighter is called sulforaphane. And recently I saw in a health food store capsules of sulforaphane in a bottle that had a picture of broccoli on it, and this was represented as being broccoli in a pill. I think this is a pitfall that we fall into in the West, and it's called reductionism. It's thinking that the part is equal to the whole. Even though we have identified sulforaphane as a cancer-fighting element in broccoli, that does not mean that it reproduces the effects of eating whole broccoli. I would not want to take broccoli in a pill. I would like to eat broccoli, and I recommend that to you too. The other dietary addition that I like to make, if you don't already do so, is to eat some salmon. If you don't want to eat salmon, eat sardines. These are sources of omega-3 fatty acids, which are rare, unusual fatty acids that seem to have a whole range of health benefits. They reduce the clotting tendency of the blood and so protect against heart attacks and stroke. They reduce inflammation and so are very useful as treatments for anyone with autoimmune conditions or inflammatory conditions, and they're hard to get in the diet. The two best sources that I know of in the fish world are salmon, and I should say here that wild salmon has significantly more of these omega-3s than farmed salmon. So I think wild Alaskan salmon or wild Atlantic salmon are good choices, and you can find ways to grill it or broil it without additional fat or poach it, and it's a very good food. If you don't like sardines, many people don't, eat salmon. If you don't want to eat fish, you have an alternative. The alternative is flax seeds. Flax seeds are also a good source of omega-3 fatty acids. They're very cheap. You can buy them in health food stores in bulk, keep them in the refrigerator, grind them in a coffee grinder or blender in small amounts, keep it in the refrigerator, and sprinkle a tablespoon of flax meal over salads or cereal or add it to baked goods or on baked potatoes. A tablespoon a day of flax meal will give you a very healthy dose of omega-3 fatty acids. Tastes nutty and sweet. It may have a laxative effect, which most people like, but be aware of that. Of vitamin C are substantial. I recommend taking 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams, that's 1 to 2 grams of vitamin C at least twice a day, and if you can remember to do it 3 times a day. So that's anywhere between 3,000 and 6,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. Vitamin C is harmless. It has no toxicity, except that above some dose you'll begin to get flatulence, and if you keep going up you'll get diarrhea. That's called the level of bowel tolerance, and you want to stay below that. The doses that I recommend shouldn't do that to you. Vitamin C is a powerful antioxidant, and it's the first element of an antioxidant formula that you're going to be using throughout this 8-week program. That's the first one to take. Exercise for this week. I'm going to tell you that my favorite exercise is walking, and I've tried many forms of it, and I've done a lot of research on exercise. The reasons I like walking are, first, everyone knows how to do it. You don't have to take any classes in it. It is the form of exercise that carries the least risk of injury, by far. You can do it anywhere. It will last you all your life. It's something that you can do as you age into old age. Some of the healthiest old people that I've met are people who walk every day. It's fun. It takes you to nice places. The only requirement that you need, the only piece of equipment you need is a good pair of shoes. Now, I recommend running shoes for serious walking, but whatever suits you and is comfortable. And walking offers some advantages that other forms of exercise don't. It is a good neurological workout. When you walk, this pattern of moving the opposite arm and leg sets up coordinated rhythms in the brain that are very healthy. I mean, this is the way that babies learn to crawl, by doing this kind of opposite movement, and that stimulates brain development. Other forms of exercise don't necessarily do that for you. And one of the objections to walking that I hear from serious exercisers is that it's too tame. You know, people think you need to do something much more intense to get the benefits of exercise. Not so. I have seen people lose tremendous amounts of weight just by doing serious walking. So throughout this program, I'm going to recommend increasing amounts of walking. But for the first week, I would just like you to try walking 10 minutes, 5 days a week.